information, and you teach people how to trade.
Yes.
What are you finding when you meet people and they want to trade the stock market? What do they know, and how good are they at it?
Well, it's interesting because everybody wants to make money in the stock market, and actually everyone can, but not everybody knows how to do it. So I think a lot of people come in and they're very naive. They think they can just trade and do things, and then they lose money, and then they realize, oh, there is a skill set that you need to learn in order to do this, because you can go long stocks, you can short stocks as an active trader, and there's so much money in the market. So even a small move, $1, $2, buying a stock up or shorting it down, people can make money.
Well, you've actually been making money for a couple of years.
Somebody has to do it.
In the market. But President Trump was hinting at more potential trade deals last night. In a Truth Social post, he says this: we will be releasing a minimum of 7 countries having to do with trade tomorrow morning, with an additional number of countries being released in the afternoon. The president's already ready to impose a 50% tariff on copper imports, and he floated yesterday a up to 200% tariff on pharmaceutical imports. Watch this.
Everybody has to pay, and the incentive is that they have the right to deal in the United States. If they don't want to, they don't have to pay, and they don't have to deal here. BRICS was set up to hurt us. BRICS was set up to degenerate our dollar and take our dollar. So anybody that's in BRICS is getting a 10% charge. Well, the European Union has been speaking to us, Ursula and the whole group. We're probably 2 days off from sending them a letter. We are talking to them. We'll be announcing something very soon on pharmaceuticals. They're going to be tariffed at a very, very high rate, like 200%. So we're going to be announcing pharmaceuticals, chips, and various couple of other things. Now, today we're doing copper. I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
So copper futures posted the best day in nearly 40 years on the tariffs, Ryan. The U.S. currently imports nearly half of its copper, with a large share coming from Chile, a key BRICS partner. And this morning we heard from Germany's minister, the chancellor, rather. He said that he's optimistic the EU will reach a trade deal with the United States by the end of the month. So we're seeing more trade negotiating going on. Your reaction, Melissa?
Well, I definitely think people are going to be pushed out a little bit that Trump gave everyone till August. So I think that's helpful. But I'm not so sure that all these deals are going to be made by August, and then what's going to happen. You know, I think the market feels very calm when Scott Bessent speaks. He really has done an excellent job. I watched, you know, when you interviewed him the other day. When he talks, somehow the market says, okay, everything's going to be fine. So even if they end up having to push it back another 30 days, I think the market will hold steady based on that. But there's so many other things, like we were talking about, that could affect the market, that could sell off the market, not just tariffs. We have wars, we have the Fed. They don't seem to want to drop rates, and I don't even know if they're going to drop rates one time between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, for the stock market, it's about earnings and earnings growth, isn't it?
100%. If you look at forward earnings, we're at record high right now, which is actually remarkable given all the variables that we have. So, and I think a lot of that has to do with productivity, automation, that's being deployed on companies right now to actually make their bottom lines better. I mean, margins have been at the highest level they've ever been in history because companies are becoming more productive. I think that's huge.
Do you think the Fed cuts? I mean, look at yields this morning. President Trump once again turned up the heat on the chairman of the Fed yesterday, Jay Powell. Watch this.
He's so funny.
Jerome Powell, who you've been pressuring to lower interest rates, he's facing accusations of lying to Congress, which is a potential crime, about the opulent.
Well, he should resign immediately. We should get somebody in there that's going to lower interest rates. I think he's terrible. I think, look, we're paying, I call him too late. T-O-O, too late. He's always late.
The president also wrote on Truth Social, cut interest rates, now is the time, Jay Powell. He says he'll choose a Fed chair successor who starts cutting rates. Ryan?
It's really hard to figure out where President Trump stands on cutting rates. That was a joke. Okay, he clearly wants rates cut. He wants them cut quite quickly. Now, I think Jerome Powell is in between a rock and a hard place here because, A, he wants to see how the tariffs play out. But he said his two variables for cutting rates or keeping rates higher are unemployment low, which it is, and stable prices. He has both. So he's kind of put himself in a corner. So I think he actually is going to cut, and I think it's going to come probably sometime in the fall. And I think the craziest part about this is President Trump's so unpredictable. Maybe if Chairman Powell does cut, he'll get renominated come next year.
No, that's not going to happen. No way.
I totally think it could happen if he actually does finally bend to Trump's will. Now, I do think there is risk here, and I've been talking about this a lot. And the number one risk is, remember when the Fed cut back in September, interest rates actually went up. So if the Fed cuts again, does that actually push long-term rates up higher? And also, it gets a lot of money off the sidelines and money market funds in the stock market, my melt-up thesis, which I think is going to transpire.
Jay Powell keeps talking about tariffs, that he's watching tariffs. President Trump mentioned a new study by the Council of Economic Advisors by Dr. Stephen Moran yesterday. Tariffs have had zero impact on inflation. And we see that every month when we get the inflation data. We are at record low levels when it comes to inflation. But you're cautious. Does that mean you're not putting new money to work in stocks right here?
Oh, no, I'm wildly bullish. I mean, I think he is going to cut, and I think it's going to melt markets up. Get invested.
Melissa, the most important lesson you teach people when you're teaching them how to trade?
They have to be really careful about making their picks, what they put their money in. I'm just going to give you one quick example. Not everything is going to benefit or has benefited from this bullish market. Look at Apple. Apple actually is in a downtrend. Didn't make new highs. Nowhere near the highs. That earnings is a very important earnings to watch when that comes out. That used to lead the market. Apple would rally, the QQQs would rally. It's not the same anymore. Things have changed, so you have to be careful with your picks. It's almost like NVIDIA is the new Apple, actually. That stock is leading, and that's another stock that could, have a really very bullish move on earnings as well. But we're watching the banks next week. Maria's right. Earnings is extremely important, and a lot of companies. This is the second quarter now since the tariffs. A lot of companies didn't want to give forward earnings. So we'll see our guidance about what's going to happen towards the end of the year. So
all right,
we'll see.
Earnings period coming up next couple of weeks. Melissa, thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa, Armo, Ryan, you were with us all morning, and we're grateful. We'll be right back. Stay with us.